I'm Tara Lawrence, former District Attorney and Executive Director of the Oregon Anti-Crime Alliance. Measure 11 is found in ORS 137-700. It's called Measure 11 because it was passed by the people of Oregon as a statewide ballot measure in 1994. Today, I want to share with you the truth about Measure 11. There are a lot of myths out there that you may have heard. The first myth is a common misunderstanding. Myth number 1. Measure 11 has long sentences for crimes like drug possession. Truth. Measure 11 requires mandatory minimum prison sentences for serious violent person crimes. These crimes include murder, manslaughter, rape, kidnapping, serious assault, sex abuse, and other similar violent crimes. Measure 11 does not include any sentencing requirements for property crimes or drug crimes. For example, there is no Measure 11 sentence for the possession of marijuana. Only a person who thinks seducing an 8-year-old child into having sex isn't a violent crime would argue Measure 11 applies to non-violent crimes. We all know that's just crazy. Molesting a child is absolutely violent. Myth number 2. Measure 11 is not reduced violent crime. Truth. Violent crime is down 48% in Oregon since Measure 11 passed in 1994. This is one of the largest drops in the nation over the same period of time. A significant portion of this drop is attributable to Measure 11. Oregon's Criminal Justice Commission estimates that Measure 11 is responsible for 13% of the drop. Other researchers place the figure at over 20%. The bottom line is, Measure 11 is preventing a large amount of violent crime by ensuring the worst criminals are behind bars and out of our neighborhoods. Myth number 3. Measure 11 causes Oregon to spend a disproportionate amount of money on corrections. Truth. When you look at all the funds available to Oregon, correction accounts for only 3.3% of total state expenditures. This is average compared to other states according to the National Association of State Budget Officers. Correction spending is often compared to what the state spends on higher education. Oregon spends 11.5% of all funds on higher education. This is above the national average of 9.8% and almost 4 times what Oregon spends on corrections. Myth number 4. Oregon sends more criminals to prison than most states. Truth. Oregon ranks 36th in the nation for incarceration rate according to the Pew Center for Research. According to the same report, the percentage of persons under correctional control that are serving time in prison as opposed to probation or parole is unchanged in Oregon since 1984. Only 1/4 of felony convictions actually result in a prison sentence in Oregon. There's one last important myth about Measure 11. It's a myth that Measure 11 sentences are harsh. Compared to sentences in other states for similar crimes, Measure 11 sentences are just about average. But they can speak for themselves. The mandatory minimum Measure 11 sentence for murder is 25 years. The mandatory minimum sentence for first-degree forcible rape is only 8 years, 4 months. The mandatory minimum for robbery in the first degree is 7 years, 6 months. To commit first-degree robbery, you have to be armed with a deadly weapon, use a deadly weapon, or cause or attempt serious physical injury while attempting to commit a theft. Clearly, it's a serious violent crime. The sentences speak for themselves. Does 25 years for murder, 8 years, 4 months for forcible rape, or 7 years, 6 months for armed robbery sound harsh to you? I don't think so. Especially when you consider crimes like robbery have special opt-out laws that allow the criminals to receive a sentence less than Measure 11 requires when certain conditions are met. Some people would like to complain that Measure 11 is a one-strike law. Well, yes, it is. The first time you molest a child, you go to prison. The first time you kill someone, you go to prison. Killers and child molesters need consequences, not mercy. Society needs to be protected from these dangerous criminals, and Measure 11 plays a critical role in protecting Oregon families from violent crime. I'm Tara Lawrence, Executive Director of the Oregon Anti-Crime Alliance. The truth about Measure 11 is that it is fair, cost-effective, reduces violent crimes, and helps keep Oregon safe.